Welcome back. Well, it is time now for our Get Psyched feature, and we're going to begin with this. So according to the Center for Stress Management and the North Carolina Phobia Institute in the U.S., about 25 million Americans changed their behaviors on Friday the 13th because of superstitions. They avoid even taking flights or moving around or even shopping. And that comes at a great cost, nothing less and nothing more than $800 million lost. So tomorrow, Dr. Hubbard, is Friday the 13th. Do you hear about this? Do people actually talk about this to you?
Well, there certainly are some people out there that are convinced, absolutely convinced that it's a day that's going to cause them trouble. So they, rather change and shift some of their behaviors a little bit.
So superstitions are very real. But first, before we get to some of this, I want to try to pronounce this. So we actually have something that we're going to put up here on the screen. And this is actually what the name of Friday the 13th phobia is. Can we get that up? It's parascavidec... Okay. Parascavidecatriophobia.
And let me tell you, I think the fear of trying to pronounce that word is probably worse than the fear of Friday the 13th itself. But so bravo, well done. Yeah. And you'll notice I chickened out and made you do it.
Yeah, I know, thanks. All right, so where does the fear come from?
We don't know exactly. There's some thought that it may be related to Christian history with things like 13 individuals at the Last Supper or the Friday of Easter. At the turn of the century, there was a fictional novel written about a stockbroker who deliberately crashed the stock market. And it just happened in this novel that he did it on Friday the 13th. And of course, we have our ongoing series of movies. So there's a number of reasons this has been perpetuated. And it's really interesting because there are people who will crunch the numbers in all kinds of interesting ways. So there are tons of studies out there saying, oh, well, there's more car accidents, there's more, fatalities, there's more of these kind of things that happen on Friday the 13th. Here's the thing. There are equally the number of studies that will say, no, actually, people who are fearful might avoid things or drive more carefully or, not do the things that are risky on Friday the 13th. Reality is, again, you guys hear this all the time about statistics. Correlation does not mean causation. You can do lots of look at this relationship, but in this particular case, there's actually no solid research that says that more bad things happen on Friday the 13th than any other day of the year.
I mean, people are so religious with their superstitions. It's funny, the salt over the shoulder or and in some cases, it can actually get troublesome for people, because this can move into a obsessive compulsive sort of thing. So how can we cope?
Well, again, it all comes down to your attributions. Something bad happens and it's a day other than Friday the 13th. You say, oh, that was my fault. My car broke down because I forgot to get it repaired. Or, you know what, I dropped something. It's because I was being clumsy. If it happens on Friday the 13th, you say, oh, look, it happened because it's Friday the 13th. If that's a belief, so that then reinforces the belief as opposed to saying, are the odds that it could have happened on that day.
Right.
So here's the thing. If you're really superstitious, if you're cautious, and it makes you feel better to avoid doing a few activities, one day, every 18 months, depending on where it falls on the calendar, go for it. But what I will say is please feel free. Know that the statistics are out there. You're going to be just fine tomorrow. And stop and think when you're about to blame the day and say, where are my attributions happening? And, have some fun with it.
Always good advice from you, Dr. Hubbard. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks again.